Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. We have an XDC video for you guys today. We're going to a bit more chart detail shortly, but we will be going through a few of the things that have been going on with XDC in the last couple of months. I think it was actually 2 months ago or so that I did my last XDC video. So catching up on things as of this week. Great to be back. And of course, don't forget to check out the other projects and videos on the channel as and when you can. Loads of topics and discussions to go through as well, of course, and not just the projects themselves, but we also go into a lot of depth around crypto Web3 topics in general. Of course, that is where I spend a lot of my time. I've been working in that industry for a few years now, as well as this channel, of course. So let's go straight into this. First and foremost, happy birthday to XDC. That is Infinite Network in general, to be honest. The XDC network, the XDC trade network are all part of the same kind of corporate branding now, which is great to see. But yes, as of earlier this month, I think it was the 1st of June, if I'm not mistaken, 5 years was celebrated. Can you believe it? I've known of XDC and I've held XDC for a few years now. I think just time in general in life is absolutely flying by. I'm sure you guys can concur out there because it's June already, which is mad, and we're getting close to 2025, guys. Lots of things going on in the world. We still got to see what goes on with interest rates, the US elections here in the UK, elections in July as well. It's going to be really interesting next few months. It definitely affects markets significantly. I've always said that we'll see a bull run. A big bull run, the big bull cycle start towards the end of November, around that period of time, into 2025. I think this is the beginning stages, guys. This is where we look at positions and opportunities. And as a project, many of you know, XDC is absolutely fantastic. It's one that I admire a lot. I've met the team a number of times, especially Sunil. Most recently was probably towards the end of last year at the trade finance event with the awesome Andre Carstman. Absolutely fantastic day that was. And it was great to pick his brains about a few things. I've had some communications obviously through Paris Blockchain Week over the last few months as well. But yes, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, really. I think this number of accounts has increased absolutely significantly. Even just in the last 12 to 18 months, I think there's a lot more awareness than there was before. I still don't think there's enough, but we've got to kind of comprehend this in an appropriate manner. There were some people in comments. I've literally blasted through 3 months worth of comments because, as you know, I haven't really been on the channel too much because of this, that, and the other. But looking through some of them, they're always complaining that XDC isn't really moving as a price yet. Everything else is, and similarities to other chains that are progressing well in price. And I'm like, well, the market price that we see as retail investors doesn't always contribute to the development of a project in terms of its its growth, its progression. It just stands as a number and a figure of something that we want to try and make money off, of course. But these assets, and the majority of these assets that are out on the crypto markets, are used for utility, and they're used predominantly for developing, or developers use them. They buy the tokens, and of course, as the networks build, which XDC has absolutely been doing for a while now and continues to do so in a very progressive manner, it gets to an exciting point in these years to come, as XDC is now available on a lot of exchanges. Some argue not enough tier ones. That is definitely something to think about, that we're probably hitting those tier 3s and tier 2s very well. Could you class KuCoin in tier 1? I'm not sure. There's a couple in there that you could grasp out of this little list here, but it's going in the right direction. There's various reasons why these haven't hit tier 1 yet, and I don't look too much into that just yet. I only really look at that as the excitement, of course, as an investor. That when you get to tier 1, you're opening up to an even bigger audience than you already are in all of these ones combined, pretty much, to be honest, in some instances. There's a lot of things going on with the building of it on XDC network, so it's always exciting. I love that trade finance aspect of XDC. As you know, I've always given critical information and data around that. Go and check out previous videos. Absolutely exciting information there that just sometimes blows the mind as to how big XDC can really get to. And we'll talk about the price in a second again. We'll revert back to that point that some people have made as to, well, if it's so big and it's so exciting and so great, why is it not moving? Well, one simple answer really is the utility is not fully there yet. The utility solution is there, but the usage of it isn't quite yet. And that is so many variables to that. We're still educating the world about crypto and Web3, or the adoption of the utilization of, what are smart contracts? How can they be used in my company? Think of how many small businesses there are, large enterprises around the world that still don't have a grasp on this. And the same with AI. It's the same with other connectivities and technologies out there like cloud, etc. A lot of companies still don't use this to the full capacity that they should be. And you're talking about trade finance as a prime example, because XDC provides a public and a wholesale or private ledger systems as well. It accommodates for both. But in trade finance in general, you talk about supply chain logistics or supply chain management. It has improved, but it's still far behind where it could really be in the coming years. So there's a lot to come for sure. And on that note of things to come, R3 Corda is absolutely huge. Big enterprise here, I think based out of the UK predominantly. But one of the key things that's always been on everyone's lips is the association of XDC with the likes of R3 Corda. And a prime example of that, which comes into fruition, I've always said this, I said this years ago, trust me, with this coordination with R3 Corda, they all work together. They all know each other very well. They're all working together. The XDC node system, for example, was being built with R3 Corda platforms in the last couple of years. And look at this news here: SBI XDC Network APAC and SBI R3 Japan successfully completed the proof of concept experiment. This is relating to interbusiness settlements, which is absolutely fantastic because when we talk about like cross-border, we don't just talk about payments where there's a potential reduction in cost of that, the speeding of transactions, the speeding of validation. It also helps us speed up the process of the economy, to be able to facilitate and finalitate, if that is a word, or finalize a transaction quicker than ever before, maybe even within minutes or milliseconds compared to potentially days. This speeds up the process of companies being able to buy more or clear the credit, clear the debits, and progress business further. And when you have that reduction of cross-border payments and things like that, you are then emphasizing the fact that you've got money savings, which can then be passed on to potentially the consumer, the customer, or i.e. us at the end. Not always, but either way, the company's going to take more profit. So there's some really interesting things going on. Now, we know about XRP, Ripple do a lot of this kind of thing for many years. There's a load more chains out there that can coordinate this. However, I always believed that, like, from the SBI group in particular and Corda's initiatives and the ability of XDC as a network, as a blockchain, certainly the speed of it, the capability of it, it has a real grasp and maybe an advantage over some of its competitors when it comes to the delving into of things like trade finance. So there's a lot of really, really cool application here, and a really good amount of concepts that are now turning into reality. The proof of concept experiments is here. It's an absolutely interesting read. This some diagrams you can understand, sometimes I don't, but the important thing here is about the settlement aspect. And I'll leave a link to this document in the description below. It's definitely worth a little read. If you've watched some of our previous videos where we're going to full depth on this kind of topic, do listen to them, do watch them, because then this kind of thing really emphasizes how that progression has occurred. Because if you go back maybe like a year or 2 years ago with my initial original videos and I was talking about these concepts, they're now here, guys. And this is what I'm talking about, patience. And it reverts back to that topic where people are like, oh, nothing's happening. Well, you have to understand there is a process. You can't just switch something on, especially when it's involving, big corporations and big industries, big sectors, multi-trillion dollar or pound industries, especially trade finance, especially supply chain, all of these kind of things, absolutely huge. And we talk about documentation in smart contract format. We did a piece about Impel, for example, recently. We did about Cargo X. We talked about the really interesting coordination that Andre Costman has been working with the trade finance groups to increase and improve the evolution of those areas, and looping back to that economy concept is really important. So there's some really, really massive things been going on in just a short space of time in this last 12 months or so. And it's really going to emphasize the importance towards developers. I think a lot more developers will be coming onto the XDC network in the next 6 to 12 months. 100%. And when we hit this next bull run, and there's a bit of marketing behind it as well, more awareness around this, it's going to be a fantastic ride, in my opinion. I'm always in with XDC for the long run. It's definitely a long-term hold for me, but I'll absolutely be taking advantage of these next bull runs coming up on XDC because I've been accumulating it a long time. I've been patient with it, but also understanding the reality of things. It's really important that we do that. But there's no doubt in my mind that when we're pulling in all these narratives, these conversations, I mean, even here, for example, cross-border payments in general, you can apply this to XRP Ripple, you can apply it to so many chains in this ethos of format in the mind. The estimated increase, the cross-border value of payments estimated to increase from 150 trillion in 2017 to 250 trillion in 2027, equating to a rise of over 100 trillion in the last 10 years. And that's just from the last 10 years. Imagine what we will actually get to in 2027 and into 2030, when the UN's Agenda 30 programs fully in place, everything's become fully digitalized, the integration of cloud, blockchain, AI, 5G, all of these things are going to be significantly driven by blockchain technology. And I feel that XDC is a massive pioneer in this. It may not be one that everyone knows, but you can see, as we said, with these wallet numbers increasing significantly in short spaces of time, I have no doubt in my mind that this is going to be one that comes out of nowhere. If people haven't heard about it, they definitely will be in the next 6-12 months, 100%. And when they see what they're coordinating with, who they're coordinating with, who the members are, who the owners are of this network, this great chain, I think people will be realizing and wishing they had gotten earlier, for sure. But we all go to that stage. We've all been there. I've been there many times when I wished I knew something earlier on. It's called hindsight. It's a wonderful thing. But that's the reality, right? But let us know in the comments below what you're thinking about XDC right now. Are you in the mindset like I am, long term, excited about what's to come? Or are you still in that camp that you're frustrated, you're angry, whatever? Let us know. Because I think there are some humongous things coming over the hill for XDC. And on that point, let's talk about the price movements or actions, for a better word, of XDC in this point. Because when we go to that element that people have been saying about the price not moving, they're absolutely right. But there's loads of variables around this. I mean, if you remember, XDC had this massive blowout here back in July last year, taking it from round about near enough where we are today, all the way up to nearly 10 cents. And that was really exciting. The previous highs that we saw with XDC all the way back up here at 20 cents. So there's plenty of movement still to come just to hit that previous all-time high area. And the last XDC video we did, we drew in these trend lines and the channeling movement. This was taking some of the low regions and the high regions and drawing an estimation of where we think we could go. And I anticipated, and I said this in the last video, I think we're going to have a trend line squeeze. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that's what the title of the last video was the trend line squeeze. And this is what I meant. If we were to hit these lower areas and drop down, we would probably see ourselves retesting those, sub 3 cent markers quite heavily, and maybe even knocking ourselves back down to 2.5 cents to retest those areas that we haven't really done properly, to be honest. But the last 2 times that have happened hitting that area, it's been bouncing back. So it's very much on par. If you don't believe me, go and check the previous XDC video. I haven't just drawn these lines in. They're exactly the same as they were before. And it's showcasing that specifically well here. Here's another line that we were drawing that we would enter this area over those last few weeks. So the last video I did, as I said, was about 2 or 3 months ago. It's bang on pretty much. Not always happens in this way, but it gives you a prime example to give you a mechanism of where we might think it's going, and then we can react to this when we're looking at accumulation and opportunities. So for right now, for example, this is not financial advice, but my personal moves and my personal opinion, I'll be DCAing more in this area because it is a very nice stable area. And as this squeeze happens, guys, look at that. It gets to around that August, September area. We just talked about that, October, November area of the elections and things like that. It's almost priming itself. And it's the same with many other assets as well, priming themselves ready for potential explosion. And I'm not saying that we're just going to go absolutely zooming up straight away. Of course, it will be gradual. But it's very exciting to see that development, that progression, and that opportunity to go, okay, if I'm new to XDC, it's not the end of the world that I've waited this long. Even if you were going back to the 2022 period, back all the way back down here in December 2022, it's only about 2.3 cents. It's not hugely different to where it is today. Yes, of course, we would love to get a 1 cent saving. And it's definitely not as bad as when it was up at 10 cents. So it's dragged itself down over this period of time since August, September last year. And we're in this really, really interesting bite point right now. And that's confirmed really in two areas. We've got the RSI index on the bottom left. And we'll have these indicators on the right hand side to show you that these have been squeezed significantly. So I'm going to DCA in. I'm still in the perception that we could break lower than those trend lines and potentially retest that 3 cent or sub 3 cent mark. And that's confirming in my mind in a bit as well with the 6 months and the year to dates being in a negative. We've had that uprise, we've had the low down. That's being squeezed a bit lower now, but equally these greens on the weekly and the monthly are as well. The RSI is hitting that 50 mark on the 14 day and 46 on the 20 day. As I said, it's a good bite of a DCA opportunity, but sitting there going that this could easily go either way. I'm not expecting it to completely massively crash, absolutely. But it indicates in my mind that there's an opportunity here to accumulate, to hit these previous highs here at 10 cents eventually soon in the coming months potentially, and to get to those previous all-time highs. When we start getting to these areas of 10 to 15 cents again, this is where I think a lot of people will awaken further. We will have the scaling up of the market trends in general for the bull cycle. And this could be where we hit the higher opportunities of XDC. Could we get to the 50 cent mark? It's absolutely plausible, 100% possible. But we'll have to see. But in my mind, I'd absolutely like to take some more profits at 20 cents area. And then we'll see where it goes. But if you look at the midterm fib levels, the anticipation there is that 30 cents is realistic. On the longer term frames, who knows? But in the big cycle, anything is possible. And with that mass audience coming in, it could be even more exciting. But let's see how it goes, guys. I think there's excitement there for XDC. I think there's massive opportunity. Whether you're new to XDC or you're looking to accumulate more, opportunity is there, 100%. Love to hear your comments on this. We'll wrap this video up now. We'll jump back into XDC over the next week or so, see how we progress with that trend line. And has there been any further squeezing, or have we broken out, or are we breaking in? Let's see. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next XDC video. Take care. Bye-bye.